Welcome, everyone. I'm really glad all of you could make the time for this webinar. Before we start the introductions, just want to let everybody know we have two sections available. One is the chat, where you can feel free to drop any comments, same way you did so far. And the Q&A, let's try to keep all the questions in the Q&A section because we'll be addressing them over there. So you'll be receiving replies. My colleague Danielle will be answering the questions in the background during the presentation, and anything left unanswered we'll tackle at the end of the webinar. We have a dedicated Q&A section. Also, the link for this webinar, for the recording of this webinar, will be sent out to everybody. So if you need to leave early, don't worry, you won't miss a thing. All right. So my name is Luciani Saya, and with me I have my colleague Daniel Gal. We are both technical onboarding managers here at Atera, and we have the pleasure of assisting our customers with the onboarding process. This means we ensure they get familiar with the platform quicker than they would on their own, and we help them get one step closer to achieving their goals they set for Atera. Now, today's agenda includes a quick introduction to Atera, a quick view of the resources and the trainings we have available for our customers. We'll have the actual live demo of the RMM capabilities and the Q&A section at the end. Okay, Danielle, if you could help me with the first poll, please. We'll have throughout our session 4 polls. There's the quick question here and there just to try to understand your challenges in your day-to-day activities, and we can address them during the webinar also with all the capabilities we have. So the first one will be around the usual RMM tasks that typically eat up your Monday morning, right? You return after a relaxing weekend and you need to fix those issues. What would it be? Like manually checking for any offline servers or failed services, maybe chasing down the machines with updates that either got stuck or failed, maybe tracking down PCs that are running at high CPU, or maybe your RMM just does everything for you. That will be the ideal scenario. We'll just leave this up for a few more seconds. We'll try to keep it for around 1 minute or so, and then we should be able to take it down. So far it's quite a tie. Maybe 10 more seconds, and then we can share. All right. I think we can close it and we can share the results. Would have been greater if we had more votes, but it's fine. So far we have the checking of the offline servers and the failed services. So quick preview, all of the 3 issues that would take up your time throughout the week, not only on Mondays. All of them can be tackled with Atera. We have many capabilities, which we will see during the presentation. So here we are. We are Atera, the world's first all-in-one IT management platform. From the very beginning, we built a unified ecosystem that combines both remote monitoring and management with professional services automation, ensuring neither is ever a secondary add-on to the other. Everything we offer is infused with our Action AI, which is a core artificial intelligence layer. And this powers many of our essential features. By utilizing our unique pay-per technician model, our platform manages over 6 million endpoints for more than 12,000 customers. By this, allowing organizations to scale their infrastructure and manage unlimited devices without ever rising costs of traditional per endpoint pricing. Our global footprint spans more than 120 countries. As we've seen in chat, we're quite spread out as well. And we support IT teams of every size, from small businesses to even organizations with 10,000 or more members. Across more than 100 industries and supporting 6 major languages, Atera provides a truly scalable solution for internal IT departments, MSPs, and MSSPs alike. Now, let's have a quick look before we jump into the demo at the resources and trainings we have available. To ensure our customers' long-term success, we provide a comprehensive suite of resources. This ecosystem includes a robust knowledge base, a support center with 24/7 chat, a live chat, and direct access to Atera's community. Users can also stay informed on future developments through our product roadmap, and they can also engage with upcoming or past events via our webinars page. So this way we ensure the IT teams have all the tools they need to stay ahead. All right, so now we'll jump into the demo. I'll share a different tab now. Let's see here. All right, I hope this is visible. Okay, maybe we can get 1 or 2 confirmations on the visibility. Yes, perfect. Awesome. Thank you so much. All right. So we'll start with the dashboard in Atera. This is not the default page when you access Atera, but you can choose it to be. This is very customizable. The widgets that you see here can be moved around. They can be resized according to your needs. They can be taken out, right? You can bring them back in just by ticking the checkboxes, or you can always reset to default. Now, as a quick use case to get the hang of it, let's say I'm a technician in charge of alerting, so I want to keep widgets here just related to that. So I'll take everything out related to ticketing. Okay. And let's say I'm not managing patching status either, so just alerting. Now I'm just arranging everything nicely here, and that's it. I have my dashboard ready for the day. Very important to keep in mind here, the changes are per technician. So whatever changes you make in here in the dashboard will not affect your fellow technicians. They'll have their own dashboard that they can customize as they want. Now, starting with the platform's hierarchy, we have the sites/customers. And on that, I want to make a quick note. This environment that I'm accessing for demo purposes is for an ITD, for an internal IT department. However, if I were to use one for MSPs, I would see customers instead of sites. But that will be the only difference throughout this webinar. For the purpose of demonstrating RMM, there will be no difference except for the naming of these two. Now, as I was saying, sites and customers are the foundation of the platform's hierarchy. Under sites, is the place where you would add all the devices, right, that you want to monitor. So let's go inside one site. So from the get-go, we have the overview where you can see the high-level data as well as the custom fields that you can create and later fill out. And for the RMM purpose, we'll have a look at the devices tab and the Alerts tab. Now, as to the actual contents of these two, we'll discuss a bit more once we reach their consolidated pages that we see here on the navigator. However, on the devices page, on the devices tab inside the site itself, I want to show you one quick thing. So for each site or customer as well, you can create folders, so you can group your devices even more, and these are considered usually patching groups, so they will help you later down the road to organize patching and automation. Also, before we move into the next section, let's have a quick look at the device page. So here we'll have an overview with information about our device. We can see details related to hardware, disks, OS and security, any custom fields that we created and we filled in. We have a few metrics related to memory and CPU. Any alerts that were generated for that device specifically, an activity log with tasks or any actions that were taken through Atera on the device. We have the profiles, which we will be touching on in a few moments. And if there are any scheduled shutdown actions, they'll be showing up in here. As to the actions of a device, we'll have a look at these once we reach the devices page. Now, going back to sites, now, we would wonder, how do we actually add these devices in Atera? So regardless of the page where you would navigate in Atera, you'll always have the same button available here in the top right corner, which says Install Agent. And when we click on it, we can see that we need to select the operating system of the device where we want to install the Atera agent, either Windows, Mac, or Linux. Once we choose that, we have the option of selecting the site, and if applicable, we can select the folder as well. And on the last page, we have the three methods of installing the agent. Either we download the MSI installer and install it directly on the device, or include it in a group policy, or maybe why not push it out through Intune. We have the command line, which we can integrate in a script and push it out. Or we can just share the download link with the end user and have them download locally and then install the agent. Now, once the installation is done, the device we'll cancel this. The device will show up under the devices list here automatically. All right. Now, Daniel, if you can help me with the second poll, please. Perfect, thank you. So I'm trying to understand from your day-to-day activities, what type of hidden issues, let's call them, are the hardest for you to audit or to identify? Would it be maybe machines that are pending a reboot, maybe devices stuck on an old Windows build, devices that don't have enough RAM for your upgrades, or maybe just devices without an antivirus or any security software over there? If you could help me with your insights. And the same way, we'll keep it up for about 1 minute, not to take up too much time from us. Perfect. We have more engagement on this one, so it's more interest. I'm glad. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think we're okay. Maybe there are still a couple coming in. Mm-hmm. Okay, I think we can close it. I believe no more votes will be coming in. Perfect, thank you. So I can see at the top we have equally two scenarios here: pending reboots and devices stuck on old Windows builds. Perfect. So with that, keeping that in mind, let's move on to the devices page. So this is a consolidated view of all the devices that we're monitoring with Atera, regardless of the site. And based on your answers, let's think of machines that haven't restarted in weeks first, and then we'll look at the second. Now, before we go into our filtering options, and we'll see them as well, I was mentioning we have our Action AI infused in many of our features. This would be a very good starting point to have a look at it. So let's consider my great colleague here, the Copilot. So that's one of our AI tools. We'll ask it which are the devices with the highest uptime, or maybe let's go a bit more specific, maybe 30 days. So I'll go up and just type it in plain English, natural language. I'll say devices with uptime more than 30 days. Let's see if we have any. I just hit enter and that's it. There we go. And we see the Copilot was smart enough to apply advanced filters on its own. Now, the result here, all of these are devices with that have been online for more than 30 days. So there was no reboot. Second, we had the devices stuck on old Windows builds. Let's consider maybe Windows 22H2 as an old one, right? So I would say devices not with, let's say maybe running Windows version 22H2, and just hit enter. And similarly as before, the Copilot applies the filter itself. Right, even before touching the advanced filters, I'll show you what it did. So here we can see that it selected the OS version, it said contains, just to make sure it covers everything, and then it used my keyword. How cool is that? Now, let's say we don't have Copilot with our plan. Let's look at the filtering options here. So if I just reset everything, we can choose a specific site or sites that we want to have a look at. If we marked any devices as favorites, we can just see those, or we can use our regular filters, high-level filters such as departments, device type, or availability maybe, but also we have the option to use advanced filters. So here you can use very granular information available at the device level, and even custom fields. The custom fields that you would create in Atera and then fill out with information. You can use them as well for filtering purposes. In a matter of a table view, you can use the detailed view, or my personal favorite, the compact one, to see more information at the same time. You can edit the columns, so you can bring in any columns that you believe are relevant for you and take out anything that you don't need. And you can also move the columns around based on your needs. As for the contents of the table itself, we have the device name, the last logged in user, the availability if it's either online, offline, or unreachable, the device type, PC, SNMP, server, TCP, and so on, the site and the folder, if applicable, the alerts, if there are any, and they are split by severity. We can see how many of each severity we have, the available patches, and let's use one of our real devices here because this is a demo environment. So here, this one. Under available patches, if there are any, we'll see them in a table here, and we can initiate the installation directly from here. At the same time, we can see the already installed patches on that device specifically. Okay, then we have the pending reboot, and if there is a pending reboot, we'll see this button to actually initiate the reboot. We have the remote access tools. With any Atera plan, we have Splashtop included. Starting with the second Atera tier, we have AnyDesk. And if you have your own TeamViewer or Screen Connect licenses, you can integrate them with Atera and start using those instead. Now, the most interesting part here is the device actions, everything that we can actually do through Atera on those devices. Patch management is the exact same window we've seen earlier. Software inventory is where we see the third-party apps that are installed, and we can uninstall any app that we want from here. We have the software installation section where we can choose specific apps that we want to install through either Chocolatey or Winget on Windows devices and Homebrew on Mac devices. And I'll just show you. Let's say we want to install VLC, for example. You have the option to just push out the installation directly from here, or you can use software bundles, so packages of third-party apps. For example, this is a pre-created software bundle. Here we have Office 365 and Adobe Connect. You can also create your own bundle. For example, let's say we want to install both VLC. We just hit add, and also, let's say, Zoom. Then we would just hit create. We'd have the software bundle ready for us, and we can select it from the list. And we just push out the installation from here. Then we have the ability to run scripts directly on the device from here. I'll get more into details into scripts a bit down the road. But at the high level, any scripts that you created or saved will be available here under My Scripts, or you have the option to use any existing script from the shared script library. These are scripts created by our customers and vetted by us before being made available here. So if you find anything interesting here, you can run it directly. All right, then we have the Service Manager, where we can see the currently running or stopped services, and based on their status, we have the actions accordingly, right? Start for stopped, and stop or restart for running services. We have the option to access the Task Manager and then any tasks we believe are irrelevant. Here we go. You would just check the checkbox and click on End Task. As simple as that. Then we have all the shutdown actions available: logout, restart, and shutdown, command prompt and PowerShell for Windows, and SSH for Mac and Linux. Command prompt and PowerShell are pretty much the same. It's just the language, of course, that's different for the commands and the GUI, but the system is pretty much the same. So let's have a quick look at command prompt. And you have the option to run it either as a currently logged in user or the system account. So let's go with system. And you'll see that the actual command prompt opens up in here. I can type in commands directly and run them, or I can call my dear colleague Copilot again and ask it to create a command for me. Maybe there is a command that I don't remember, or maybe I've never used it. So for example, let's say show all open ports. It will fill out the command for me in a matter of seconds. And of course, it won't run it automatically because we need to review it before we do. So for me, the only step remaining is just hitting enter. And there we go. We see all the currently listening ports. Okay. Then we have the user activity. We have the help desk agent, which we can either activate or deactivate. It's the system tray icon found in the taskbar on the devices. We have the file transfer. And from here, you can either upload files, download existing files on that device, or rename them, or even remove them if you think they shouldn't be there. All right. We have the event viewer at hand as well. And we have a few available categories where we can look up for any events. And last but not least, we also have the registry editor over here. We can create new registry keys. We can, let's see if we can find one. I believe here we'll have one. Yes, we can modify existing ones, or we can even remove them. All right, cool. Now, Daniel, if you could help me with the third poll, please. There we go. All right. So now let's think monitoring. What do you find most often in your environments? Would it be processes that are hanging? Maybe software that's taking up too much RAM? Or maybe even machines that are slowing down due to high heat? Which one of these would you consider you see quite often in your environment, if any, of course? Mm-hmm. Okay. Maybe about 20 more seconds, and I think that should be it. Okay. We might have, if votes don't change, we might have a tie again. Okay. I think that's it. We can close the poll, Daniel. Thank you. So it seems that hanging processes with high CPU and software eating up too much RAM are almost in a tie. Okay. With that in mind, let's go into the alerting side of Atera. Now, to start building this up, we need to set up our own threshold profiles. These are actually the stepping stone for initiating the monitoring. So let's create a new threshold profile for us. Okay, and here we'll define which hardware or software components we actually want to start monitoring. We'll touch on the results of the poll as well. I'll show you how to tackle those. But let's start by saying this. You'll notice once you create a threshold profile, you have a few presets made available by us to you to start actually monitoring your devices. And let's say I want to start monitoring some servers. This one is a bit more comprehensive. That's why I chose it as an example. And we need, when we start configuring the threshold profile, we need to keep one thing in mind. We need to know our devices very well, because some threshold items or their values might not apply to our devices, right? Now, with this in mind, let's say I want to monitor my backup servers. So the most obvious items that I don't need in here are all these under the exchange category, right? So with these items, I have the option of taking them out. Then the least obvious ones, and I'll use this example, for the CPU temperature, let's say some devices might have issues when they reach 60 degrees, but maybe some other CPUs will handle it quite well, and they start causing issues when they reach 65 or maybe 70, right? I have the option of increasing this, but I do need to know to which devices I'm applying this threshold profile, because there can be only one threshold profile per device. All right. Then I can also set the time period between each two checks, because checks will be done continuously, and this can be done in increments of 1.5 minutes. But I cannot change the category or the alert severity for these preset items. So what can I do in that case? I'll cancel this and I'll create a new item. And we have three methods of creating new threshold items. First is the preset is very basic. It's based on monitoring events inside the event viewer. That's why it's supported only on Windows. And we can look out for any new software that's installed, software that's uninstalled, or if there were any failed login attempts. But if we want to go more granular, we go into the custom side of things. And from here, we can use any of the available categories, many of them found in the presets as well. Now, because we had people mentioning the hung processes and the RAM eating, let's say, we will have a look at those. So let's say we want to look out for high CPU load on our devices. So I would start by choosing that category, right? Then I would select a severity for it. Of course, that's always subjective, so it's up to you to choose the severity and the percentage. Now, of course, again, is the same approach. I need to know my devices, how much can they take, right? So let's say I would create it with 75% as critical in this case, and then I select the time period. Similarly, and we'll notice the value type changes. If I want to look out for memory, then I choose memory usage, and there will be a percentage here as well. But for some categories, the type of value will change, like we've seen for temperature. It's in Celsius degrees. Okay, now, once these conditions are met, an alert is triggered. What happens further? I can either investigate it or I can add an auto-healing script. If I know what causes the issues and how to fix it, and I can script that fix, then I can create a script with that solution and add it as an auto-healing method in here. And I'll keep it on the sidelines for a bit because I'll come back to this section. Now, the last method of adding a threshold item is the script-based a threshold, where anything I can think of on our devices that I can monitor by creating a script and pulling information, I can add it in here. So let's go with that in mind, and I'll have to share a different tab because the script page will always open in a different tab. There we go. We should be seeing the script page in a few seconds. Okay, I think now it will be available to all of you. All right. Now here we can create that script to add this threshold item. We'll see we have a few fields that are mandatory, such as name and description. And this, trust me, it will be very useful for you, both you and your fellow technicians down the road, because we might pile up a lot of scripts and we need to remember them. Optionally, a category is maximum script runtime. There's a default, but you can change it. Any arguments that you need, you can add them in here, and choose whether to run the script as system or current user. Now, once I have these options in place, I can start typing in my script and then save it for me to add it in a threshold. However, we revert back to our colleague, the co-pilot, and we can ask him to create the script for us. Maybe I'm not that good at scripting. Maybe I don't have a strategy in mind yet. So I can just tell it in plain language what I need to achieve. As a quick example, as I've seen it with one of my previous customers, they didn't need TeamViewer to be installed on their end user devices, right? So I can tell Copilot, check if TeamViewer is installed, and because we need to return to Atera when we're using a script-based threshold item, we need to return an output, either a number or a text, right? So I'll just say return 1 if it is installed. Okay, I just click on generate, and in a matter of seconds only, I'll have the script available in here. And there we go. For me, the only remaining thing is just to create it, save it, and add it as a new threshold item. Now, before I switch back to the previous tab, following that same logic, for the script-based threshold items, we also have an auto-healing script option. So in this case, maybe I want to uninstall it wherever I find it, right? So I'll tell Copilot, I'll tell it to create a new script, and I'll tell it to uninstall team viewer if found. Sorry, actually, I'll leave um, this typo in place because the Copilot should also detect what I'm talking about. There we go. And with this script, I can save it and use it as an auto healing script, right? Cool. Now, let's switch back to our previous screen. Okay. And here at the bottom is where we add the auto healing script, similarly to custom ones. Cool. Once we have all the threshold items in place in here, the only remaining thing is to assign the profile. We can add this to either a whole site or sites, specific folders in specific sites, or we can go back to the devices page, go onto each relevant device individually, and select it from there. Once we do that, all those devices will show up in a list in here. Okay, and this will be the exact same system for the other two types of profiles we'll look at. All right, now once I have this in place, alerts will start being generated, but before we look at those, we have two settings we have available here. First, we can have the alerts be sent over email to us to specific email addresses, and we can choose the severity, which should be of the alerts which should be sent. And we can also create tickets automatically based on each alert. And we can choose the sites or customers where we want this to happen. This setting with the email alerting can be set from here globally or can be set specifically at the site or folder level as well. Right, with that in mind, let's move on to the alerts page and see what we have so far. So here, once we look at the table, we notice we have the alert name, the site, and the device where it happened, when it when it happened, the severity of the alert, category, the option to create a ticket or the ticket reference if one has been created already, the status, which will always be opened as soon as the alert is generated, and here, if we find quickly a device that's online, there we go. On this Manage Device button, we have the exact same options we have on the Devices page as well. This was added in here for you to be able to investigate further any alert that has been generated. And this last button here with the arrow will just expand the alert and give us more information about the alert itself. Okay, now, Daniel, if you can help me with the fourth poll, and that should be the last one. Perfect, thank you. What if you were to run a compliance audit? What would be the red flags that you most encounter? Would it be maybe machines pending reboots? And I know there might be some of them based on the first poll. Maybe devices that have Windows up to date, but on half of the devices, but on the other half not. Maybe devices with Windows up to date, but Office not up to date. Let's see. Mm-hmm. Okay, I think here we might have a winner, but let's see the trend. Okay, I can see no more votes are coming in, so I think it's fine. We can close it. So the first option is the winner, where we have machines that haven't been restarted in more than 14 days after the updates, right? So let's see, with that in mind, let's see the patching side of things here. Now, the stepping stone for patching is represented by the patch management and IT automation profiles. Here we'll have to create a new profile real quick. Okay. And with these profiles, we set the patching activities and any automation tasks that we want. To be easier to understand this page, let's consider it this way. The top part is the when, the middle part here is the what, and the last part here on the left is the who. So the when is the schedule. We can add at least one schedule. We can also add multiple ones from one time to daily, weekly, monthly, and annually. Right? They're very customizable. But the comprehensive part here is represented by the what. What is being achieved through this profile? Here we need to be aware of a few best practices, and I'll show you um, which types of activities or tasks should have their own automation profile. And there are two reasons for this. One, some types of tasks will require a reboot. And if we try to run a different type of task through the same automation profile at the same time, if we reach the reboot and the second activity is still running, it will still reboot the device. So it will create a conflict. Second of all, there's no fixed order in the tasks that we choose here, so they might create a conflict at one point. So with that in mind, we have under OS patch management, we have the critical and security updates for Windows. These should definitely have their own automation profile, and they go hand in hand with the reboot if needed option here at the bottom, because most of the times they do require a reboot. Then we have service packs, drivers, and tools with their own automation profile as well. Of course, Mac updates and Linux updates, each with their own automation profile. Under patch management, we have the option to update our third-party apps. With the first option, we can update any software that has been previously installed through Chocolatey on Windows or Homebrew on Macs. With the second, we can update the apps that have been installed through Winget. Okay, so one automation profile for this as well. Software bundle, we've seen it a few moments back. So we can choose at least one app to be pushed out through an automation profile. So we don't have to do it individually. Another automation profile should be for the upgrade of Windows to either 10 or 11, and another automation profile for any admin tasks we would set up in here. And lastly, we have the script option in here. We've seen it previously. It is the exact same thing. It's just that this time it's automated to run on a schedule. At the bottom here, we have the OS patch approval settings, where you can either postpone or completely exclude patches for either Windows or Mac. And if you postpone, you can do it from 1 up till 30 days. And after this time passes, the patch will be auto-approved. Um, if we know of a specific patch that causes some issues, if it has some bugs, then we can look up that patch in here and add it to the exclusion list. Both types of patches will show up in the table here at the bottom, and the postponed patches can be either approved, like before the time passes, right, or excluded completely. The excluded patches can be only approved if we changed our mind, right? Now, going back to the profile, over here in the whom section, let's say, we have the profile assignment. So exact same mechanism as before, site, folder, or device individually. But on top of that, we have these two important options in here. So we can decide when the profile should run. which is either the account time zone that you set in the account settings, or the device's local time, which is very useful if you have devices spread across at least two time zones, and the offline agent execution preference. This tells Atera how to handle the devices which are offline. So we can queue them up from 1 hour up till 1 month. And during this time frame, at any point in time, if the device comes online, then the automation profile is pushed out. Another note, automate the automation profiles, because we have to split them, all the activities in different profiles, we can assign as many as we want to each device. Okay. Now, once we set this in place, patches start to be pushed out to devices on our own schedules, and we can monitor the success rate from the main navigator and going into patch management. Here we can see the high-level success rate. We can see specific details, such as devices that are missing critical patches or maybe OS patches, maybe some devices that are still pending a reboot, or based at the OS patch level, if there were any failed, or if there are any available ones that are still pending. Here at the bottom, we see the top vulnerable devices and how many missing OS patches they have. And on the right, we see patches instead and how many devices they are missing on. Okay, and the tabs at the top are pretty much the same things as these two tables in here. However, it's more detailed. We see the devices first with how many patches are missing, and here we see the available patches and how many devices are waiting for it. Okay, cool. Now, during the discussion on patches, we also mentioned the reboot. And this can be controlled by us through a configuration policy. Right before going into these details here, one quick note, this acts the same as the threshold profile, whereas you can assign only one per device. So we need to keep that in mind. So when we set up our own configuration policy, we have the Windows restart section. We just have to enable it. And these three options here are actually relevant to deciding how the reboot should be done. So we can do it either outside of active hours, which we set. We can do it after a selected time period after the automation profile finished, and that time can be from 15 up to 180 minutes. Or the most popular choice, we can allow the end users some control as to when the device restarts. We can send them a prompt, which is customizable. We can send it for a specified amount of times, and we decide after how long should the next prompt be sent. After all the prompts are sent out, the device will still restart, auto restart. Okay. However, in the configuration policy, we have two more settings in here. We can choose whether our devices that are using this configuration policy should be using Atera's automation profile, which is recommended since that's why we're using Atera, right? Or if you have some specific devices where you don't want the Windows updates to be handled by Atera, you have that option here as well. And lastly, we have the splash top settings override, where you add an extra security layer on top when your technicians want to connect to end user devices. Either have the end user decide if they want the technician to connect, or maybe require the technicians to enter a security code. All right, now let's top all this up with reporting. Now, we want, of course, once we set everything up, we want to see how well Atera is performing and what data we have available consolidated in reports. Now, in Atera, we have two types of reports, operational and analytical. Operational reports are a bit more basic, and they are available with any Atera plan. We then have the analytical reports, which are a bit more advanced, and they are available starting with the second Atera plan and up. And on the third and fourth tiers, we have the ability to create our own custom reports, and we'll have a look at a few of each. So for the purpose of this webinar, touching on RMM, let's have a look at two relevant actionable reports in here. We have patch, search, and deploy, and I'll show you why I'm mentioning actionable. Let's hit generate. So here we'll see all the patches either installed or not installed on our devices, but specifically for the ones that were not installed yet, if we identify any, we can select the checkboxes next to them and click install. So we can initiate the installation directly from here. Second, software inventory is also an actionable report. And here you'll see all the third-party apps available in your environment, and maybe entered a few more times because you might have different versions, right, on different machines. And this one is actionable because you have the option of uninstalling that third-party app from all the devices it was found on. Or maybe you don't want to do it on all and you want to go a bit more granular than that. You have the option to select the checkbox next to the relevant ones and initiate the uninstallation from here. All right, now when it comes to analytical reports, you'll clearly see the difference. Let's have a look at hardware inventory first. So let's give it one more second to load. All right, so here you'll see all the devices in your environment split by device type, CPU core count, operating environment, operating system, and so on. But the main difference here, although we still see widgets, we can see we have a bit more flexibility when it comes to filtering. But let's see the software inventory one, because this one will give us even more filters. All right. There we go. So this one is it's a table view report, but let's say I want to see all the third-party apps inside one of my specific sites and only on workstations, for example. Once I'm happy with the filters, I just click on this button to update the selection. And after a few seconds, I should have, there we go. We have the new results in place. Okay. Now let's look at the custom reports real quick as well. Because we're looking into RMM, the devices data set would be the most relevant. Okay, while this loads real quick, just so you know, our custom reports are based on Google Looker. They are using Google Looker in the background. And we have many fields that we can choose from when building up our reports. Specifically to go with one use case, let's say I want to see all the devices where I don't have an antivirus installed, right? So I would first look up the device names I want. Okay, we can see it adds it in the table here. And then I want to see the antivirus. I will go by name. Once I add all the columns that I want, I just click on run and it pulls the data from the database. And there we go. We have all the information in here. We notice that where an antivirus is not installed, we have a null value. So we can use filters. Now, filters can be added on each type of field that we have available. So in this case, I'll use it on the antivirus name itself. And you'll notice we have many types of operators that we can use. In our case, I'll just say is null. I'm looking for the ones where we don't have it. So once I click on run again, there we go. It just leaves the entries without an antivirus in place. Now, lastly, although lastly, we have the visualization options. We can leave it as a simple table. We can have a column or bar shaped graph. We can use scatter plot, lines, and so on. We have many options available. Here we even have pie charts, but of course with this type of data that we're looking at, it's not compatible. Okay, and last but not least, real quick look at the resources available. If you click on the question mark, you'll see that we can access the Help Center from here. You have access to our academic courses. You can access the community where you can see what other customers are doing with Atera, how they're taking advantage of our features, and you can also access the product updates area where you can access later down the road the product roadmap. So that pretty much wraps up our live demo.